The Galactic Council chamber was filled with voices, hundreds of alien delegates shouting at once. The air was heavy with fear, but also with pride. Each empire wanted to look strong, yet none of them wanted to take action. The report had come in only hours ago. A human colony at the edge of known space was under attack. The enemy was the Kryll Dominion, a race feared for their brutal war fleets and endless soldiers. They had destroyed smaller civilizations before, leaving nothing but ashes behind. Now they had chosen to strike at humans. The council debated loudly. Some aliens said, "We must send fleets." Others said, "We must avoid war." But deep inside, they all felt the same. They did not want to face the Kryll, not again. At the center of the chamber, one human envoy stood in silence. He was not tall compared to many alien races. His skin looked pale under the strange lights. His eyes, calm and sharp, followed every word. He did not shout. He did not beg. He only listened. The voices rose louder. A reptilian delegate slammed his claw on the table. "If humans want help, they should fight alone." A feathered ambassador hissed, "Do not risk our fleets. The Kryll will crush anyone who stands in their way." The human did not react. He waited until the noise reached its highest. Then, in a voice so calm it cut through the chaos, he said one line, "Fine. I'll handle it." The chamber froze. The words echoed against the walls. Every delegate turned to look at him. Some gasped. Some whispered to their neighbors. Others simply stared in silence. Aliens feared war. They feared the Kryll. But more than that, they feared when humans said those words, for history had taught them what followed. Long ago, when humans first entered the stars, they had been underestimated. The Archon Empire once mocked them, stealing their trade routes and enslaving their people. Humans had satao mandeng. Aid the same thing then. "Fine, I'll handle it." Within a decade, the Archon Empire no longer existed. Another time, the Zolothi raiders declared war on every human colony. They believed humans were weak, unprepared, and too few. The human fleets were small, their weapons old, yet once again humans had said those words. The raiders disappeared within a year, wiped out so completely their name was only found in history books. Now in the council chamber, old memories rose like shadows. Every delegate remembered. Humans never bluffed, they never spoke loudly, they only acted. And when they acted, the galaxy shook. The Kryll Dominion was strong. They had thousands of warships, billions of soldiers, entire star systems under their control. But strength meant nothing when faced with human resolve. That was the lesson written across centuries. The human envoy did not wait for permission. He did not bow or ask for support. He simply turned and walked out of the chamber. His footsteps echoed like thunder in the silence. The council was left in chaos. Some shouted, "We must stop them." Others whispered, "It is already too late." A few simply sat in fear, knowing nothing could stop what had already begun. For outside the chamber, across the galaxy, humans were already preparing. They did not hold speeches. They did not ask for applause. Their engineers worked in silence. Their soldiers sharpened their blades. Their scientists built weapons no alien could understand. And somewhere in the shadows of Earth's great cities, a single warship was being readied. It was not large, not compared to the Kryll armadas, but its design was unique. Its systems glowed with a strange blue light. Its AI hummed with quiet energy. The galaxy thought one ship was nothing. Yet they had thought the same before, and every time, they had been wrong. Back in the council chamber, a young alien spared to his elder, "Why do they fear such simple words?" The elder leaned close, his eyes wide with memories of past wars. Because when a human says, "Fine, I'll handle it," it means the end has already begun. The silence stretched. No one dared to argue. No one dared to laugh. Across the stars, news spread like fire. Empires trembled, fleets prepared defenses, civilizations prayed to their gods, but deep in the darkness of space, the humans prepared without fear. They had been tested before, and every time they had risen higher, stronger, smarter. The galaxy did not yet know what would happen, but they all felt the same cold truth in their bones. When humans said they would handle it, the galaxy itself would soon panic. The words spread faster than light. "Fine, I'll handle it," whispered through every channel, from council halls to hidden taverns, from pirate dens to royal palaces. Each syllable carried weight heavier than fleets of warships. Aliens remembered. Some of them had lived through it, others had only heard stories, but all knew the same truth. Humans never joked with those words. They did not say them lightly. They did not say them unless the outcome was already decided. On a small moon orbiting the gas giant Yelkor, two merchants spoke nervously. "Do you think it is true?" one asked. "Do you think the humans will fight the Krill?" The other shook his head. "Not fight," he whispered. "End them." The archives of the galaxy were filled with warnings, old records written by empires long turned to dust. "Do not let the humans fight alone," one scroll said. "For when they say they will handle it, the stars themselves will burn." Another record, written by the Arkan survivors before their extinction, had only one line: "We should have listened." The Krill Dominion laughed when the reports reached them. Their generals mocked the fear of other species. They said, "Humans are only flesh. They bleed like anyone else. They die like anyone else." But behind their laughter, it was a crack of unease. They too had heard the old stories, and stories have power. Back on Earth, preparations were silent but unstoppable. Engineers worked day and night. They built weapons no spy could decode. They whispered to each other about secret projects hidden deep under mountains. Projects with names that made even hardened soldiers pause. The Krill sent spies to learn the truth. One spy returned pale, shaking, refusing to speak of what he had seen. He was executed for his silence, but his fear remained. The other spies never returned at all. In the Galactic Council, fear turned into argument. Some races begged to ally with humans, saying, "If they fight, we must fight with them." Others warned, "Stay away. If humans handle it, nothing will survive in their path." The council split into factions, some trembling, some foolishly hoping the humans would fail. The human envoy never returned to explain. He did not send messages. He did not ask for support. The silence was worse than words. It meant humans had already begun. Across colonies and stations, humans behaved differently than other races. While the galaxy panicked, they grew calm. While empires trembled, humans grew sharper, more focused. Their strength was not in their numbers. Their strength was in their resolve. Legends spoke of human soldiers who fought until the last breath, of engineers who turned broken machines into weapons, of farmers who became warriors overnight. Aliens did not understand how such fragile beings could change the course of wars. They did not understand until it was too late. On the world of Dareth, an old alien general told his grandson, "Child, listen. The most dangerous moment in history is not when humans declare war. It is when they stop asking for help, when they say, 'I'll handle it.' The war is already won. You only have to wait to see how." Meanwhile, in the Uwanto, dark halls of the Krill War Council, cracks appeared. Their leaders argued. Some demanded a strike on Earth before the humans finished preparing. Others said to wait, to test the strength of this so-called threat. But hesitation was poison, and it spread fast. The humans gave no warnings, no deadlines, no threats. They only moved quietly, steadily, unseen. That was what terrified the galaxy the most. Empires were used to loud declarations. Humans offered none. Humans offered only results. The phrase, "Fine, I'll handle it," became a storm. Merchants whispered it as a curse, smugglers as a prayer, leaders as a warning. Entire colonies locked down their ports, afraid to be caught in what was coming. Fleets that once laughed at humans began retreating from their borders, not out of mercy, but out of fear. For in the darkness, one human ship was already moving. It had no name on record, no markings, no official history. The galaxy would later call it by many names: the Ghost of Earth, the Silent Hammer, the End of Empires. But for now, it was simply a shadow, and the galaxy knew the shadow carried doom. The galaxy was waiting for an explosion, but what came instead was silence, a silence more terrifying than the loudest war. On Earth, the cities carried on with their daily life. Children played in the parks, markets bustled, music echoed through streets. To outsiders, it looked calm, normal, unbothered. But beneath the surface, deep in the mountains, hidden in oceans, far beneath deserts, something else was happening. Human engineers worked without rest. Their projects were sealed behind walls of steel and silence. No data escaped. No spy returned. Even the Council's best informants came back with nothing but fear in their eyes. In one mountain base, a single ship sat on a massive platform. Its black surface absorbed the light, glowing with faint blue lines like veins of fire. It was smaller than a krill warship, almost humble in size, but those who looked at it too long felt their hearts ray. As if the ship itself was alive, the krill dominion mocked. Their leaders laughed on public broadcasts. One ship, that is humanity's answer. One ship against our empire. But their laughter was hollow. Their generals did not sleep well at night, because every time humans had said, "I'll handle it," before, the impossible had followed. The human ship did not launch with fanfare. There was no parade, no speeches, not even a name carved on its side. It left orbit like a shadow, slipping into the void, unseen, unknown, untraceable. The council received whispers of its movement. Some begged to know its target, others demanded to stop it. But the truth was simple. No one could. Humans had already decided. The galaxy panicked. Worlds locked their ports. Fleets abandoned trade routes. Some empires even sent messages to the krill, desperate to avoid being caught between them and humans. The galaxy had faced many wars, but none created fear like this. On the edges of space, krill fleets gathered. Thousands of warships formed a wall of metal and fire. They believed numbers would protect them. They believed size meant victory. But humans had never cared for numbers. Humans had always cared for precision. Inside the ship, only a small crew worked in silence. They did not talk much. They did not celebrate. Their faces were calm, their eyes steady. They trusted the ship, and they trusted the words of their envoy. "Fine, I'll handle it." The krill tried to provoke them, sending broadcasts of captured colonies, showing images of destruction. They wanted humans to grow angry, to rush, to make mistakes. But the humans did not reply. They did not shout. They only moved closer. And then, one night across the stars, something strange happened. Entire krill patrol fleets vanished. No wreckage, no signals, no distress calls, just silence. The galaxy trembled. What weapon had humans unleashed? Rumors spread. Some said it was a black hole generator. Others whispered it was a ship guided by ghosts. A few claimed humans had made a deal with forces beyond the galaxy. None knew the truth. Only the humans knew. And they were not speaking. In the council chamber, alien delegates shouted in fear. "We must stop them," cried one. "No," whispered another. "We must pray they do not look at us next." The human envoy never returned. His chair remained empty. Yet his words still echoed in the minds of every leader, every admiral, every emperor. "Fine, I'll handle it." The silence of preparation was over. The silence of execution had begun. And in the far reaches of the void, the first human strike was coming. The krill dominion had waited for this moment. They believed the humans were arrogant. They believed the humans had made a mistake. 500 warships stood in formation, a wall of steel and fire stretching across the void. Their hulls glowed with red markings. Their engines roared like thunder. The krill commander sat in the flagship, smiling with sharp teeth. "One ship," he laughed. "One fragile ship dares face us." His officers laughed with him, their voices filled with false confidence, and then, out of the dark, the human vessel appeared, small, silent, almost fragile compared to the krill giants. No banners, no symbols, only a sleek black hull with glowing blue lines. It looked less like a warship and more like a blade waiting to cut. The krill fleet locked weapons. Thousands of missile bays opened. Thousands of cannons pointed forward. The commander raised his claw and shouted, "Fire!" The void lit up with fire. Hundreds of warheads streaked through space. Beams of light cut across the stars. The human ship should have been destroyed instantly, vaporized under so much power. But it moved, not like any ship the galaxy had ever seen. It slid between beams as if it had known where they would be. It twisted like a dancer, dodging what was meant to be unavoidable. Its weapons remained silent. Its engine, whispering against the void. Inside the council chamber, alien delegates watched the live feed. Some gasped, some cried out, others simply stared in silence. It was impossible. It was madness. Yet it was happening. The human ship finally spoke. Its AI broadcast one word across the comms, not to the council, not to its allies, but directly to the krill fleet. Engaged. And then silence again. A single blue beam cut through the darkness. It was not loud, not dramatic, just quiet and precise. One krill battleship exploded, torn apart from the inside. Seconds later, another fell, then another. Each shot was exact, perfect, merciless. The cryo fired again, waves of missiles, storms of lasers. But every attack missed, every strike fell into empty space. The human ship was already gone before the beams reached. It was not speed, it was prediction. The ship moved as though it had already seen the battle before it began. Panic spread through the Creel fleet. Commanders shouted, officers screamed, ships collided as they tried to retreat. The human vessel never slowed, never rushed. It moved with calm precision, one target at a time. 50 ships fell, then 100, then 200. The battlefield turned into a graveyard of fire and wreckage, yet the human ship still glided through untouched, its blue light glowing brighter, like the steady heartbeat of a predator. In the council chamber, someone whispered, "It is not a ship, it is a judgment." The Krill commander's laughter was gone. His claws trembled on the controls. He shouted for reinforcements, but his words broke with fear. On his screen, the human ship appeared directly in front of him, closer than any enemy had ever dared. A voice echoed inside his ship, calm, human, unshaken. "Fine, I'll handle it." And with one final beam, the flagship was split in two. Silence followed. Only wreckage floated in the Vo. 500 Krill ships had stood, none remained. The galaxy had watched, and the galaxy now knew this was only the first strike. The news spread like wildfire across the stars. 500 Krill warships gone, erased in hours. No survivors, no escape, no mercy. The galaxy had witnessed it live, and no one could deny what they had seen. In the council chamber, silence reigned. Delegates sat frozen in their seats, their eyes wide, their voices trapped in their throats. Even the loudest races, the ones known for endless boasting, had nothing to say. One by one, they turned their eyes to the empty chair where the human envoy once sat. And fear grew heavier on distant worlds. Crowds gathered around screens. Alien families watched in disbelief. Some cried in terror, others whispered prayers. A few cheered, not for victory, but because they were glad it was not their empire that stood against humanity. The Krill Dominion tried to hide the truth. They claimed it was propaganda. They claimed the battle was faked, but their people knew better. Soldiers' families received no messages, no ships returned to port, only silence, and silence was worse than defeat. For the first time in centuries, the Krill generals argued among themselves. Some demanded vengeance, others whispered surrender. Their pride clashed with their fear. But deep inside, they knew the truth. The humans had already chosen the outcome, and nothing could stop it now. Meanwhile, across neutral worlds, new whispers spread. Merchants spoke in low voices. "Have you heard? The humans have a ship that cannot be touched." Smugglers swore they had seen it move like a shadow. Raiders abandoned routes near human colonies, afraid to vanish like the Krill fleet. The phrase had become a curse. "Fine, I'll handle it." Words so simple, yet now feared more than entire armies. Leaders began banning the phrase from being spoken on their worlds as if avoiding it could change fate. But fate had already shifted. The council tried to regain control. They argued that humans must be stopped. They feared what might happen if humanity grew too strong, but no plan survived. Every strategy fell apart the moment someone whispered the obvious truth. They do not need fleets. They do not need allies. They only need themselves. And then came the footage, leaked recordings from the battle, grainy but clear enough to see the faces of the human crew, calm, steady, even smiling as they fought, not with rage, not with fear, but with confidence. The kind of confidence that broke enemies before weapons ever fired. Other empires began to crumble from within. The Valen Kingdom signed peace treaties overnight. The Torvak raiders fled into uncharted space. Entire systems bent the knee before a single human word was spoken. Not because humans threatened them, but because they were terrified of being next. The galaxy now understood. This was not about power. It was not about weapons or numbers. It was about resolve. Humanity had the will to do what others would not, to finish what others feared to start. In the Krill Palace, the Emperor stood before his advisors, his claws clenched, his voice shaking. "They are only one ship, only one." But his words rang hollow. Even he did not believe them. His empire was crumbling under fear before the war had truly begun. Back on Earth, the ship returned to orbit for only a moment. Its hull was scarred, its blue light flickering. Yet it had not fallen, not even once. The crew remained silent. They did not celebrate. They only prepared for the next move, because for humans, victory was never the end, it was only the beginning, and the galaxy now faced the turning point. A moment that could never be undone, a truth carved into the stars. When humans said they would handle it, there would be no escape, no mercy, and no second chances. The galaxy had always been loud, filled with trade ships, patrols, broadcasts, and endless movement. But now, silence spread like a shadow. Fleets that once patrolled the edges of space turned back. Worlds that once boasted of their strength closed their gates. Even pirates and smugglers abandoned their routes, afraid to vanish without a trace. The fear of humans had become greater than the fear of the Creel. On the desert world of Trelna, markets once filled with shouts were quiet, merchants whispered instead of speaking, every conversation carried the same words. The humans have begun. In taverns and hidden halls, smugglers swore that entire fleets vanished overnight. No wreckage, no survivors, only silence, and silence was worse than death. The Krail Dominion struggled to hide their collapse. They ordered their citizens to stay calm, to trust their leaders, but panic spread faster than their commands. Soldiers deserted, families fled, colonies refused orders. The empire was breaking without a single human invasion. Fear itself was tearing it apart. In the council chamber, empires turned against each other. Some begged to ally with humanity, offering resources, technology, even entire planets. Others shouted that humans must be stopped before no empire was safe. But the problem was clear. No one dared to face them. Not after the first strike. Every broadcast of human silence became louder than alien speeches. When other races sent threats, humans gave no reply. When others begged for peace, humans gave no answer. That silence was unbearable. It meant humans were not negotiating. They were acting. On distant colonies, children played a new game. They pointed sticks like weapons and whispered, "Fine, I'll handle it." Their parents grew pale at the sound, for even children carried the legend now. The Kryl Emperor sent orders for a grand counterattack. 1,000. And ships prepared. A massive fleet like the galaxy had never seen. But days passed, then weeks, and the fleet never launched. Rumors said the admirals refused. Rumors said the ships would not move. Some said the fleet already vanished in the dark. Across neutral worlds, panic became worship. Some small civilizations began calling humans the final hand. They built shrines, whispered prayers, believing humans were not just warriors but executioners chosen by fate. On Earth, there were no shrines, no prayers, no celebrations. The humans worked in silence, preparing as always. Their engineers built more ships. Their soldiers trained harder. Their scientists unlocked weapons no one else could imagine. But to the galaxy, even the sight of a single human ship was enough to send fear through 1,000 systems. One alien leader spoke to his people in desperation. "Do not anger them. Do not provoke them. For if they say they will handle it, our world will not see another dawn." His speech was broadcast across 10 systems, and instead of calming his people, it spread more terror. The galaxy began to collapse, not from war, but from the shadow of war. Empires surrendered before fighting. Fleets abandoned battles without firing. Worlds swore loyalty to humanity without being asked. And through it all, humanity remained silent, calm, unstoppable. The galaxy finally understood the most terrifying truth. Humans did not fight for conquest. They did not fight for pride. They fought to end problems completely, finally, absolutely. And that meant the Kryl Dominion's days were already numbered. The stars held their breath. Entire civilizations prayed, hoping the storm would pass them by. But deep inside, every race knew the same truth. Once humans said, "Fine, I'll handle it," nothing in the galaxy could escape what came next. The galaxy was already broken. Empires that once claimed glory had fallen silent. The Kryl Dominion, once the strongest, was now a shadow of fear. Its fleets scattered, its colonies abandoned, its people whispering of an end they could not stop. And then it came. One human ship entered the heart of Kryl space, not with an army, not with allies, only itself. The Kryl Emperor ordered his remaining fleets to defend. Thousands of ships surrounded the human vessel, their weapons glowing, their crews shaking. The human ship did not fire first. It simply moved forward, calm, silent, unshaken. The Kryl fired in desperation. Thousands of beams lit the void. Explosions roared across the stars. And yet, just like before, the human ship danced through it all. Every missile missed, every cannon failed, every trap shattered. One by one, Krill ships exploded, precise, clean, merciless, no wasted fire, no wasted motion. The humans were not fighting for battle, they were delivering judgment. The Emperor watched from his throne. His claws dug into the armrests, his voice breaking as he shouted, "We are billions. They are few. How can they win?" But even he knew the answer. Humans did not fight with numbers. Humans fought with will, and will was stronger than empires. Within hours, the Krill Dominion was finished, their fleets gone, their throne world silent. Their emperor's voice cut short in a final scream. The galaxy trembled, wondering if humans would continue. Would they conquer? Would they destroy all who had doubted them? The silence of Earth was unbearable. Every empire waited for a message, a demand, a threat, but none came. Until one day, in the Galactic Council, the human envoy returned. He walked calmly into the chamber, the same man who had once whispered the words that started it all. The hall fell into silence. No one dared to breathe. His voice was quiet, but every syllable was sharp as a blade. "Next time," he said, his eyes sweeping across the trembling delegates, "do not make us say it again." No threats, no promises, no demands. Only silence followed. That silence was heavier than war, heavier than fire, heavier than the ruins of the Krill. For every empire knew what those words meant. Humanity did not want conquest. Humanity did not want power. But if pushed, if forced, they would act. And when they acted, nothing in the galaxy could stand. The human envoy left without another word, his footsteps echoing through the chamber like thunder. And from that day on, the galaxy carried a single truth carved deep into memory, a truth more feared than any weapon, more lasting than any empire. When humans say, "Fine, I'll handle it," the galaxy itself panics because it knows the end has already begun.